That's great. That's cool.
Brian, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm just saying to my guys here, I've got Ben on my right. I've got one of my other students, George, in the background.
Nice to meet you, Ben. Nice to meet you,
Hi,
George.
Um, we're almost going to try and replay what we did in the Google Hangout in a kind of stylistic approach.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do in a minute, I will just kind of formally welcome you as a link in from webinar and obviously the conversation we're going to have to my audience, the delegates and the participants at the conference, and then effectively hand you over to Ben, who's going to ask you to introduce yourself and say a little bit about your background, your career. And then once that's done and you've finished there, I'm just going to then ask you a little bit of a question ideas formatted to the themes of the conference.
Terrific.
Okay. Brian, it's a great pleasure to be able to welcome you via this web link this morning at the third annual Sports Marketing Conference here at the University of Northampton. And we're really, really very grateful that you've taken some time out in a busy schedule, I'm sure, for you this morning to be able to talk to the participants at this conference. I'm going to ask one of my senior sports marketing about to graduate students this year, Ben Warren, who's going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Brian. Would you be able to give us a quick background on your career to date, please?
Sure thing. So my name is Brian Gainor. I currently work for a content engine called Freshwire, and we power content strategy, creation, and syndication for brands across the world. Freshwire is part of GMR Marketing and Fleischman Hillard, which is two of the largest agencies across the world. My background primarily lies in sports. I've worked in the NFL for a number of teams, the Miami Dolphins, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I worked in NFL Europe in a PR capacity with the Ryan Fire. But for the past 6 years, I've been involved in the agency world, starting at GMR Marketing, helping to create partnership solutions for brands across the world. In the meantime, I started a site called Partnership Activation, which focuses on sharing best practices in sport across the world. Through that, I've been able to speak at conferences across the world on sports sponsorship and creative best practices. And truly I'm excited to be here speaking with all of you today. It really shows how the world is flat and how we now have an opportunity to share key learnings and help one another across the world. So thank you very much for having me.
Brian, I think that is absolutely nailed on for us here at the conference, that you obviously recognize what a great opportunity that this particularly today is. And I think that, to use a phrase, the global village, it obviously epitomizes everything that we need in that context. Mm-hmm. The future of sport is clear. We've listened this morning. We're about to listen more to some keynote speakers who are going to address that issue. And then most importantly, and really what I'd like you to give some thought to and express your views, opinions, any considerations that you might want to pass on to the key workshop themes which we're doing later on this afternoon: sport and the media, sport sponsorship, a practitioner's perspective on sport and sport business, sport management. And finally, and I think this is an area that we've talked about particularly ourselves in a previous Google Hangout, social media and its significance and the role it plays, particularly in new fan engagement opportunities. What are your views?
So the world is rapidly changing at this point in time, and it's definitely an exciting time to be a sports marketer. So I applaud everyone that's in the program as they look to enter the workforce. But from my point of view, the biggest opportunity is to date, at least looking from a United States perspective, is that teams have primarily focused on how they can grow and monetize their fan base here in the States. But a lot of the EPL clubs have clearly shown, how teams should be looking at more from a global perspective. And the fact that we have all these social media channels that are at our fingertips now provides us a cost-effective platform to reach fans across the world and truly grow your fan base. What we're seeing from my perspective is just that media dominates the landscape. So the huge media deals that we're seeing will continue to dominate the landscape. And it's really a critical time right now for properties to understand how much value is at hand with those media deals and how they can fully leverage those. It is a little concerning right now, though, when I look at the landscape from a cost perspective, and are we really taking the casual fan out of the picture with the cost to attend sporting events and the cost to purchase jerseys and things like that? So especially when you look at sports sponsorship and the rising costs there, it's definitely a point of concern that we're basically pricing out the fan. So it'll be very interesting to see how media entities and properties continue to grow their sports, continue to build their fan base without pricing out their consumers. The big challenge that we have, and it's a challenge and an opportunity, and it's what social media presents, and it's real-time marketing. So it's very exciting that we have new opportunities now to engage fans during matches, before matches, give them more access points than they've ever had before. But at the same time, it's also challenging because, from a marketer standpoint, there's only so much that you can do in a given amount of time. And there's so many more markets now, and we live in such a much more complex environment than we used to now as we deal with multiple markets, multiple languages, and fans across the world that want content 24/7. So I think it's really important, from a student's perspective, that you really understand, while you're still in school, the value of the social channels that you have at your disposal, how you can leverage them, how it's really going to dictate our business for years to come.
Brian, we've just temporarily had a few connection issues there, but we're going to continue, if I may. I think you've given us already a very insightful, fascinating perspective, particularly I think the aspect of costing and whether we're making great connections or new connections, or in fact maybe sometimes because of pricing cost issues, maybe because of accessibility, maybe there's an educational issue here as well, that we're not in danger of almost alienating and becoming maybe elitist in some aspect. I mean, I know here particularly with, as you call it, soccer, but football, there's this growing belief that perhaps, a lot of the grassroots, the working class, the typical heritage sports fan is no longer able to take advantage of some of this new opportunity. What are your views on that?
It's the big opportunity is, fans will always consume sports, especially with it being live viewing, and, there's so much heritage and tradition. The biggest concern just comes down to the live stadium atmosphere, and we're starting to see all the major leagues have issues with this. And it's all about, hey, how can we continue to build that live atmosphere and continue to have our true fans have an opportunity to go to these live games. So, from one point of concern, from a TV standpoint, with being able to deliver the matches through mobile, through digital, through tablets, there will always be viewership. But I guess it really just comes down to whether we can continue to keep the atmosphere and fans who truly want to engage with the experience live, the opportunity to do so. And I saw an article recently about some critics really getting on Manchester City and Manchester United for pricing their kids' kits over €100, and that's concerning too. Again, as we try to build our fan base from a grassroots level, I really would love to see more teams and really do more for young kids from a grassroots level. And I believe that you had Mark Bradley speaking for the students, and I think that's great because what Mark is doing with trying to get more families into the games is spot on, and that's really what we need to be doing is growing this young fan base who has different consumption habits than adults, and finding new ways to keep them engaged and feel like they can afford to watch when they want to watch.
Brian, I've got Mark Bradley in the audience waving as we speak, saying thanks for the ad, and you're absolutely spot on. Can I just say finally, because we're probably going to have to cut off in a minute, that I would welcome you to keep the connection going with us. We really appreciate your time. I hope one day, maybe next year, you can come and deliver a keynote address to the conference, to my students, and we'll keep this going. So a big, big thank you on behalf of myself, my students, and particularly the audience and delegates gathered here today. You've given us great consideration for the afternoon workshops. We're going to discuss many of those themes that you've put before us today. I'm going to give my student the last say here and to ask one last question of you, but thanks again. Ben Warren.
Yeah, it's basically based on your work with the NFL in Europe. Do you ever think that a European franchise would be a viable business strategy for the NFL?
Yes, I do. When it's the right time. So when I was there in Europe, they had made some great strides at building fan bases and really growing the game. But from a timing standpoint and the way that the league was structured, it just wasn't working from a monetization standpoint. But the NFL is clearly getting smarter. They're doing a much better job building the game or growing the game internationally through social, digital, and through TV. And so they've made some great strides. But, we've all been monitoring it, and it'll probably be another, decade or so before it happens. But definitely see the opportunity. I mean, what the Premier League has done with growing the game here in the States and growing in markets in Thailand and things like that, it definitely shows promise for the NFL. So I definitely think that we can expect it. I think that there's already talk about expanding the schedule to 2 or 3 games, which is great news. But just to kind of echo the feedback, so I'm on Twitter. My handle's @Brian Gainor, and would love to connect with any of the students. If anyone just wants to build a growing relationship, always enjoy connecting with people across the pond. So please be sure to connect with me, and thanks again for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Brian, that's a great finish. We'll see you very soon. If you get chance on the day, #UN Future of Sport, and I'm sure my students will be in touch with you. You take care. Have a great day. And
All
bye-bye.
right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.